In today's video, I'm going to show you how you can write, self-publish and market your first book with a very low investment. What's up everybody? My name is Saloua. I am a digital entrepreneur, an author, and a full-time digital nomad. So let's get started. So first I want to share with you my process. So when I got the idea about my book, you need to know that I have never written a book before, and English is not my first language. I am originally from Morocco, so my first language is French and Arabic, and I grew up in Belgium. So I only started learning English when I was 20 years old, which is a long time ago. So for me, it was more difficult because I wasn't English native, but that didn't stop me, and that covers our first tip. Be confident. Do not worry if you think you never wrote a book before and you think you can do it. There's tons of people that wrote books who are not English native and who never wrote a book. So believe in yourself, because if I've done it, you can definitely do it too. So when I got the idea, I was like, okay, where am I gonna start? I figured you needed a publisher. I had no idea how I was gonna pull this off. But like the quote says, when you put your mind into something, the universe is supporting you. I said to myself, okay, the first thing I need to do is to write a proposal or plan, and I recommend for you that you do the same thing, and you kind of brainstorm or brain dump your first idea. And do not forget to think about your readers. What can be valuable to them? What can they learn? So in my book, The Stories of Immigrant Women Entrepreneurs in the United States, I did just that. I wrote a proposal and I figured out what needs to be in this proposal. After I wrote everything on paper, I actually went on Canva and I designed a pretty proposal. So the proposal was the title of the book. And by the way, you don't have to have the title right at the beginning. You can actually launch a survey later on and ask people what they think would be the best title. And the title is pretty important because, you know, when people roam a bookstore, what do? They pick up the cover, so they want to make sure the cover is really attractive, just like any product. And that's clear. Like, what's the title? You want to make sure that people understand what the book is going to be about. And what do people do also? They look in the back because they want to read the blurb and see what this book is about. So those are the things you have to keep in mind at the very beginning when you write your proposal. So after I had my title, I explained what the book will be about. So the purpose of the book, in this case, I had 5 different components. I'm just going to read you one so you'll have an idea, but I would like for you to write that down when you write the book. So what's the purpose of my book? For me, I'll give you an example. The purpose of my book is to inspire women to never give up on their dreams of becoming an entrepreneur in a new country, despite the adversity and many challenges they may encounter. That was one of the aspects of my book. All right, so the next part that was in my proposal were the requirements. So if you write your book by yourself and it's your own story or something that you, some of your expertise you want to put on paper is one thing. But in my book, it's a collaboration book. I had to have requirement in order to have people to sign up and become part of this project. You may not need this if you're writing the things on your own. Then you have the application process. So again, for you, if you're writing your own story, you may not need this. But for me, I needed to have an application process. And then in the application process, it was also very important to me to let them know that they would have to sign an agreement to give me permission to feature their stories. And that, my friend, is a very, very important point if you are working with other people, because it can end up bidding you in the bum at the end. And I actually learned this by experience. So I hired a lawyer to come up with a contract for me, and then each woman who featured in this book had to sign this contract. The next part is the fundraising. I needed to hire somebody to create a design cover for the book, and I had a lot more expenses. So what I did is I went on GoFundMe and I created a crowdfunding campaign, and we had people donating for this cause, and I'm very thankful for that, because I was able to publish this book. And also very important, at the end of the crowdfunding campaign, I told people that they will be featured in the book in the thank you part, and I kept my word. So if you go on the last page of my book, you will see there is thank you to all the sponsors who believed in us, and we named them right here. And I also had an option that if they gave over, I think $60, they will get a copy of the book, but I would make sure to sign them, and that's it. And all of the information I just shared right now are the information that we're including in my proposal. So that was basically step one. At this point, I didn't even write the book yet. I had no idea, but I had a good draft, an idea of where I was gonna go, and I also used this proposal to get help for this book. So no matter where you are in your writing journey, make sure that do not be afraid to ask for help, because a lot of people would be more willing to. I actually managed to create a really strong support system of people who helped me create this book. Okay, so the next thing I did is I had an idea on what the book would look like. So I want this to be an interview style. I also knew that it was going to be a type of book that you kind of open and just go through, and I was aware that people were not going to read the book in one take. That's why for me it was very important that the design was very attractive, and so also that people could just read one chapter and then felt like, wow, I did learn something today. But of course, this depends on what kind of book you want to write. If you are writing a fiction book or a novel or biography, that might be a total different style, but I'm just giving you the ideas that I have to actually make this one book happen. So now that I know what the book is going to look like, I also need to have the main bullet points of what I'm going to cover. So introduction, my story, the interview stories, and then a conclusion. And so that was the idea that I had at the beginning. And then eventually I started to think about this. I'm like, I want to talk about other things other than just the interview. And so after a lot of work and brainstorming, we figured out there were two topics we wanted to talk about. Number one, why immigrant women are not getting funded. Why was it so difficult for women to get funded, let alone women of colors, minorities, and immigrant women? And so I had now dedicated a whole chapter on this that I call Investing in Immigrant Women. And then I also talked about the immigration. I knew that immigration would be a huge, deep rabbit hole, and I would not be able to cover all aspects of it. And I quite frankly didn't want this to be about immigration. I just wanted people to understand the stories of immigrant women who come here and have a successful business. I wanted to remove the negative connotation that has to do with immigration, and I wanted to share the diversity amongst people who are immigrants. So that means not only from third world countries, poor people who come to America because they have an American dreams. No, I have women here who are coming from Switzerland, Australia, Poland, you name it, and they came here for different reasons, and I wanted to share that as well. So all that to say that you want to cover your main points of what the book is going to be about, why you're leaving a little bit of room for the unexpected. And by doing that, you actually will improve because you're getting a lot of feedback and you are doing a lot of research and you're learning at the same time. By the way, every time we had a page done with the design and the photos, and it was always a celebration. So it wasn't like I was like tunnel vision. I really enjoyed all the process with my team, and every time we could see this book being developed, it was just a great feeling. That's why I think you should never give up on that. So once we have the complete draft done, what we did is I looked for a book cover, and I was trying to figure out, because I had an idea of what I wanted, but I wasn't really sure. So I went on 99 Design, and I will leave my link down below if you want to use them. It's basically a platform that hires designers all over the world, and they have a contest. You will have people from all over the world who are going to pitch to be the book cover designer. And I ended up picking the black and gold because that's the idea that I wanted. I wanted the map of the United States. I wanted black and gold to be really attractive, and then I wanted to have some of the women in the book cover. So this really was perfect. Okay, so we talked about the idea, we talked about creating a proposal, we talked about creating a first draft, and then we talked about what did you want the book to look like physically. Then you need to figure out where you want to publish your book. So like me, I'm self-published, and the reason why I went that route is because I didn't want to wait to pitch it to a publisher, and I also wasn't sure if a publisher will take me seriously because I never wrote a book before. Now, if I'm doing a second book, I will be a lot more credible because I've already published a book that has been sold. So, who are you going to work with? Obviously, Amazon is the biggest one, but Amazon doesn't always cater to everybody. I really wanted to have a hardcover copy with this measurement, and Amazon was not offering that. So I decided to go with Blurb. So Blurb is a print-on-demand company. Once you design your book, you can upload it on their platform and they will sell it for you, and then they will ship the book. They are international, but there are some countries that they don't ship. So these are the things you also want to be aware of. And that doesn't stop you from being on Blurb and on Amazon. So this is exactly what I did. After we had our book published on Blurb, I went ahead and created an ebook, a digital version of my book, and I put that on KDP, and then I did a soft cover format for Amazon as well. So one book, 3 formats. Know that you can also have an audiobook, but in my case, it's an interview style, and I didn't think that audiobook would really look good for this type of book. Okay, so hi Tiggy. Hi Mama Jumbo, tu bébelle toi. Tu bébelle. This is Tiggy, everybody. Okay, so after what we did, once the draft was over and everybody approved of it, we actually uploaded to Blurb, and then I ordered my first test print copy, and I was just like, it was such an amazing day, because when you have something that you put so much work into, and it started with the vision in your head, and then you can have it in your hand, it's just like an amazing feeling. So right after that, I started my pre-launch strategy, which I knew I wouldn't get the book available for at least 30 days, but I still launched it then, so people can actually pre-buy the book, and it will allow me to make a special. So I sold the book for a lower rate, and I offer them to be signed, and so that's, I will make a whole video on explaining to you my pre-launch strategy, and I'll also cover that in the course, so make sure you sign up, because pre-launches are very important. That actually allow you to create a list of hot leads of people who are going to be interested in purchasing the book. And also, because I did a collab book, I had a lot of the women in my book help me promote this book as well. So I think that's it for now. That was a lot of information. Please feel free to leave your questions down below, and I want to thank you for watching till the end. And again, don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you in my next video. Kisses from Portland. Hey, je fais dodo. Je fais dodo.